All right, we're here on Father's Day at Ruth Chris Steakhouse. They opened about 6 months ago on Wolf Road here. This place is huge. I recommend that if you have a reservation that you get here early, because if you come in at the time of your reservation, there will be a wait, a 15-minute wait. So just know that. I recommend, some restaurants, they give you a little grace period of 15 minutes on your reservation. Not here. Arrive early if you want to get seated approximately around the time that you want to eat. So check this out. You can come to Ruth Chris anywhere you want. I love it. Several of the wait staff were friends with this table here and kept running over to the table during dinner and screaming and jumping up and hugging the people at this table. It was really obnoxious and loud and a nuisance. That's it. Classic. Classic white beater. Come any way you want to Ruth Chris. It's the way to dine out, right? Very busy. The great part about Ruth Chris is the bread is served the right way, with a napkin over the top to keep it from getting cold, and the bread is so warm, super warm. And the most important thing is that the butter, this is a really nice pre-churned butter, the butter is at room temperature. You don't know how many restaurants we go to where the butter is kept in the refrigerator and brought out with the warm bread, and it's hard to be able to spread the butter. Well, this is done just right. I wanted to mention that. What is that right there?
Ribeye.
Ribeye.
Medium rare.
Looks good.
Very hot plate, 500 degrees.
Great job here tonight, folks. And what's the Caesar salad?
Crouton on the
side. Okay.
And the Brussels sprouts.
Brussels sprouts. They look good, Leon. Did you make them yourself?
Absolutely.
Now watch this. Here comes my ribeye.
You, sir. Same. Medium rare.
Medium rare. Okay.
And there you are.
Not expecting an elaborate presentation. This is Ruth Chris. This is the way they do it. 900 degrees. Cooked at 1,000. Yeah, seared at 1,000 degrees.
500 degrees. Enjoy your dinner. Take your time. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Leon. All right. It's Happy Father's Day time. All right. So let's take a look at that. Ribeye, medium rare. Let's try it.
Have you cut? How'd they come out in terms of temperature? Very good.
Perfect.
Fantastic.
Perfect cook.
Thank you.
Yes.
Take your time. Enjoy your dinner. May I bring anything at all for the moment?
Bag of money?
Hey. I haven't got one yet, sir. I'm working on that this afternoon, sir. Enjoy it. Take your time, my friend.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. All right, the steak is excellent. As you can see, the nice color. Can hardly finish it. The Caesar salad is done well, and I had Leon come over and give me some cracked black pepper, of course, on there. Excellent service. Now, we got to talk about Brussels sprouts. We had to send back the Brussels sprouts, and had requested the chef redo them. The problem with Brussels sprouts, and we're finding this at a lot of different restaurants, so I'm going to add it to our video, even though it's Father's Day, is that most chefs are either overcooking the Brussels sprouts until they're charcoal and burnt and crispy and just, falling apart and flaking apart. Longhorn, you got to do a better job. You're roasting your Brussels sprouts to the point where they're darker than me and they're charcoal briquettes. So don't overcook the Brussels sprouts. Here at Ruth Chris Steakhouse, they completely undercooked the Brussels sprouts. It was as though they were just right off the stalk. They were so hard that you would lose a tooth trying to bite into them. And we had to ask them to redo them. Now, again, Brussels sprouts are going to have different sizes, but a Brussels sprout should be tender when you go to eat it. And if the leaves fall off a little bit, that's fine, because wouldn't you rather have a nice tender vegetable that's been seasoned? We also had to request that they season a little bit of salt and pepper, a little bit of butter. This is a little bit of drippy butter, but again, it's a vegetable that should be tender. Their average age customer is well over, 50 years old. Some folks have dentures, some don't. But you should never have to lose a couple teeth in trying to bite in to a Brussels sprout. And we've been noticing this at over 30 different restaurants. So finally I decided I'm going to mention it here today. It's not a mom and pop restaurant, so they should be doing it a hell of a lot better, because they're a large chain all around the United States. Listen, I'm able to chew the Brussels sprout without losing my teeth. Folks, save your money. Save your money. Definitely not worth it. $233 for two for terrible food. The only thing great about Ruth Chris after all these years of eating at these locations was they do steak well. I'm not going to tell you that they don't. US Prime, they do the steak well. All the sides, except the bread, were terrible. The dessert was terrible. The salad was great, but I had to make sure that, that the dressing wasn't overdone. And I wanted the croutons on the side. A lot of times if you don't do that, your salad will be filled with croutons. In fact, now here, Monday morning, the 17th of June, now after reading Times Union senior writer Steve Barnes' review and realizing that Ruth Chris is owned by their parent company, also owns Longhorn on Wolf Road, and another steakhouse there. You'll have to read the article, it's in the link. I have to tell you that their other chain restaurant, Longhorn, always overdresses the salad. So if we go there, we always order the salad dressing on the side. Otherwise, your salad would be like soup. They do not know how to dress the greens correctly. And when you ask for the salad dressing on the side, it comes in a little soup bowl. Who needs that much salad dressing? These chains that are charging this much, $71, $80, $90 for just a steak, have to do a better job on their quality. And they have to check the dates on their cream and milk to make sure it's not spoiled, because it was ridiculous that the other couple next to us at the table complained about their lobster bisque and sent it back. And then finally, at the end of our meal, when we got our creme brulee, it tasted of spoiled milk or cream. And when we complained and it was soupy. It was so soupy, I had to take it, and it was dark to eat in there. So I had to take my cell phone out and see if it had curdled. And it was a little bit curdled, but it was like soup. And everybody knows a creme brulee should be a nice texture. It shouldn't be like loose pudding, and it was really bad. So they've got to retrain the staff. I know the corporate chefs, and I used to be a corporate chef, have all left. They're always there in the beginning of the opening of the restaurant, but you never find them after a couple weeks, and then, the place needs retraining. I would not waste your money to dine here, and I'm sorry to say this, I normally do not do bad reviews, but I needed to let the public know this place needs continuous quality improvement and retraining of their staff, especially retraining of their head chef and the cooks to know how to make good side dishes and desserts that are not spoiled. And the sad part is that the other couple at the table next to us, both of them are culinary arts graduates of a college in Manhattan. They had 7 kids at home, and they worked for several years for the Mazzone Hospitality Group, and told us they always had excellent service and excellent food at those restaurants. So you're talking to now myself, a retired executive chef of 30 years, and 2 other chefs who worked for Mazzone Hospitality who know good food. So the 3 of us found the place to be totally thumbs down on Father's Day. And my lady, she's an Italian American, and her family and she, they know good food. She, decided that we should dine out on Father's Day. I told her, you don't get great service on the holidays, but I did not expect Ruth Chris to serve terrible side dishes and for this other couple to get a curdled and spoiled lobster bisque and our creme brulee to be spoiled as well, and to have that aftertaste. I mean, the finish to a great meal should be an awesome dessert with a great aftertaste, so that when you leave the restaurant, you actually are feeling satisfied and want to return. And in this case, we will most likely not go back. I don't see, I haven't eaten at a Ruth Chris in over 20 years, and this was a big mistake to be here on Father's Day. And I would say any day until they get the corporate chefs back in and do it right. Put out good food. They do great steaks, bread great, salad, depending on what you get, great. But unfortunately, these $14, $15 side dishes, their soups, they need in complete culinary retraining. And they're a corporate restaurant, so they should be doing it right with consistency. Marriott's motto is never be satisfied. So all the floor managers there that were, being patronizing and whatnot, no, don't be afraid of the chef. Go in. If you need to fire the chef and get a guy who's putting out good quality side dishes that pair well with your perfect steaks, then do so. And you guys know I hardly ever give a bad review. I'm accused of being a food cheerleader. So if I've taken the time to warn you, let's hold Ruth Chris accountable to serve the Capital District. So I want to show you the comparison of good quality. I want to remind you that the other couple that was there on Father's Day had 7 kids at home. They're both culinary graduates of a culinary arts school in Manhattan, and they both worked for the Mazzone Hospitality Group. Now, what's interesting about steaks, if you're looking for a good quality steak, you can go to 677 Prime and order the cowboy steak. The cowboy steak there is only $86. And let me tell you something about a cowboy steak. A cowboy steak is an extra thick cut ribeye steak, USDA prime ribeye steak. Some on the outer edge, you're going to see a little bit of bone. Uh, the difference between the cowboy steak and the Frenched bone and the tomahawk is that on the tomahawk, the bone is longer, holding on to that boneless, delicious, rich marbling uh, ribeye steak. And what the slaughterhouses or your butcher will do, or even the chefs at the restaurant, is and they will get in these cowboy steaks and these tomahawks, and then they will carefully clean the bone, and in a technique called Frenching. And what it does is it adds an impressive presentation. Now, I got to tell you, uh, 677 Prime does an exceptional job at serving their cowboy steak. Their cowboy steak is 18 ounces compared to the ribeye at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse is 16 ounces. And a cowboy steak, especially at 18 ounces, is large enough to share. If you look at the menu at 677 Prime, they do have different steaks on the menu that they recommend that you can share. You're going to pay almost comparatively a little bit more. In fact, their hanging tomahawk for two is $182, but it's a 40-ounce prime USDA prime sliced table side with parmesan and butter and breadcrumb crusted fingerling potato, Dijon horseradish butter, and cooked to your liking. So when we go back to the cowboy, 18-ounce USDA prime from the greater Omaha, it's an 18-ounce ribeye steak with the French bone for a great presentation with rich and wonderful marbling, and it's $86. So, you got to find out if you can share that steak when you go there, because they do have on their menu the steaks that are, that they are promoting that are for two, such as the porterhouse for two, the hanging tomahawk for two. And again, the difference between the tomahawk and the cowboy steak is that on the tomahawk, the bone is longer on the ribeye, and on the cowboy, the bone is shorter. But I'm going to say for your best money and best quality steak, the cowboy steak ribeye, USDA prime ribeye, is the way to go. And then, compared to Ruth's Chris, their ribeye, I don't know what company they use to supply their meat, but their ribeye has no bone, obviously. Now we go to Ferrari's Ristorante on Congress Street in Mont Pleasant. The Steak Mafioso there at Ferrari's is a 14 to 16 ounce Delmonico steak grilled to your liking, covered with onions and peppers and mushrooms for $36. You can also add a side of Capellini for $2 or Alfredo and pasta for $6. There's other choice of sides for under $10. Compared to Ruth Chris's USDA Prime ribeye, a true Delmonico steak is cut from the chuck, also known as a Boneless Chuck Filet Steak, Boneless Chuck Slices, Boneless Steak Bottom Chuck, Chuck Filet, Chuck Roll, English Steak, also London Broil, Shoulder Steak or Shoulder Steak Half Cut. Um, this steak is it's more economical. A Delmonico steak is a low-cost alternative to the ribeye steak, which is a thick-cut preparation popularized by Delmonico's restaurant in New York City during the mid-19th century. So let me show you the difference between a Delmonico and the Cowboy USDA Prime Cowboy steak that is served at 677 Prime. So I would recommend, until Ruth's Chris gets their stuff together on how to cook side dishes, that you go to a restaurant like Ferrari's Ristorante or 677 Prime Steakhouse.